I'm reading this book called After Steve, right after Steve Jobs. Highly recommend everybody read it. Book just came out. It's incredible. We're talking about it before the podcast got started. Question for you guys. Okay, so the San Bernardino shooting takes place. When the San Bernardino shooting takes place, what was the biggest problem that Apple got into with San Bernardino shooting? What happened?
Would they unlock the phone or not?
Comey and Obama went to Apple and said what?
Unlock the damn phone.
Unlock the damn phone. And what did Cook do? What did Tim Cook say?
I can't do that.
I can't do that. And then they tried to really bully him, and he stood up and he said, no, this is a bigger thing than short term. This is a long-term issue that we got to address, right? He says, I can't do that because I'm taking the privacy away from the individual that's using my software, my phone, right? I'm not going to do that. They lost it. They were going to sue him, all this stuff. Finally, they said, don't worry about it. We figured out a different way to get it. They didn't go after Apple, right? But since then, Apple's been obviously having a challenge. And then later on, Trump comes out. Trump calls out Tim Cook nonstop. Finally, Tim Cook goes and spends time with Trump. And next thing you know, people ask Trump, why is Tim Cook your favorite president, favorite CEO? Trump's answer was what? Because he's the only one that calls me. Tim Cook is the only one that calls me. This is a first openly gay CEO that communicates with Trump about, challenges they're facing as a company. But here's the question. If Facebook knows what this guy is texting and messaging, I'm throwing a complete different curveball here. I want to get your thoughts. If Facebook knows those DMs and they know he's communicating, should Facebook report those DMs to FBI?
Well, they have no problem putting flags on COVID-19 things or censoring people immediately and reporting accounts. Maybe they do have a role in that.
What do you think, Tom?
I think they absolutely have a role. I mean, if they can shut down a conservative voice, and let's talk about what it is, right? You say something too inflammatory about vaccines or about this or about AOC, boom, your account can even be suspended. It takes a little bit longer, but your tweet can be popped like immediately. Which means that they have
But is that good, though? Is that the right position for them to do what they do?
That's censorship, but they could use the same technology. They don't have an army of people just watching tweets. They have technology that's reading tweets, and they can put that same technology and send a notice to that law enforcement agency and say, hey, there may be something very bad about to happen here.
But what Tim Cook would say is, Tom, you're now giving the government enough power to use free market companies to abuse my privacy. I got very technical here with you on this. True. The only reason I'm talking about this with you guys is because as we're going in this angle of all these arguments of we should use this and we should use that, the ripple effect of how it affects other things. Like you said something earlier. You said, well, I'm concerned if we give the background check or the training or whatever, they may abuse that. And what if later on somebody, a girlfriend says, I think my boyfriend's going to do something to me and the cops go and confiscate the weapons and all that stuff. That can lead to that, right? Same ripple effect when it comes down to, hey, we have access to the DM, reported to the FBI. So now you're sitting there saying, also Facebook is owned by the government. Facebook is no longer. So what is the right position in these,
anything good can be used for bad on this side of it.
There's a fine line. There's a fine line.
It doesn't make me nervous. It does make me nervous.
Do you remember the guy that we had the Facebook? What was the guy that we had Facebook?
Steve.
No, but what was his job? He was an auditor.
A moderator.
He was a moderator. And
the whistleblower.
The whistleblower on Facebook that we interviewed him.
The big guy.
So I said, do you ever check, have you ever, since you have access to everyone's DMs and everyone's messages, have you ever gone and looked to see what people have said? He said, I can't lie to you. I have. I said, who was it? My cousins, because I wanted to see if they were talking shit about me, right? So this guy who's a moderator was more concerned about it. Yeah. But the point is, you're dealing with the slippery slope of what to do with this, right? So you may find a current solution, because I would bet if I'm a Biden or if I'm any of these guys and I'm in the campaign, so say the left all of a sudden comes out and says, this is why, the next person they could vilify here is Facebook and Instagram and Zuckerberg. That's the next villain. Because the villain is, you could have done something about it, because you got to blame everybody except for the administration, right? Do not be surprised if today, tomorrow, the next day, following week, if all of a sudden, somehow, some way, Zuck gets caught up in this scandal.
And one issue that happens, although it's horrible, but it's not like this is an everyday thing, right? That impacts the privacy of millions of Americans. And these things are, again, it's a small percentage of when these things happen. And we're creating legislation surrounding that's impacting Americans as a whole. Snapchat actually helped a case. It was an underage, I think, sex trafficking case where somebody was texting an underage person and they were able to alert the FBI. I think there are some instances where that's obviously appropriate, but then again, it's that fine line of the privacy of people and then who's creating that criteria.
But we're already doing that now. Let's not forget that they use geolocation, geotagging, the bank accounts of all the people at January 6th that went after all those people, right? They're now labeling anybody who posts the wrong thing on Facebook against the teachers union parents as domestic terrorists. Like they're already using these for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Like it's perfect to work in this fairy tale world where everybody uses things for the right.
If you're already,
but
it's all
who
political.
sets the criteria.
Yeah.
But if you're already doing that, it's kind of like when Paul Manafort, when I'm like, listen, lobbyists are the problem in America. And he says, look, what are you going to do? The other guys are doing it. Mm-hmm. So if they're already doing that for that reason, then you have to be equal opportunity and give information for other side as well. I would much rather them not do it at all. But if they're going to do it for one side, you got to be equal on the other side as well.
So then should they be regulated from an objective perspective?
I don't think so. I honestly don't think. But at the same time, you're a fool. You have to be naive to think that the government is not reaching out. Because think about what the phone call is going to sound like. What do you think are the chances of a person like this existing? You ready? Hey, Mark. How are you? I'm with the FBI, but I'd like to have a private conversation with you. Can you please open that envelope for me? Yeah, sure. You open it up. Do you see what we have here with you? We have this. I know you're happily married, and I know you're CEO of a very powerful company, and you're one of the most powerful people in America. But if you don't, moving forward, tell us what's going on with these things, this is going to be public. Do I make myself clear? Yeah. Okay, so here's what I need from you by this time. Make sense? Moving forward, when myself or somebody from my group contacts you, I need this information from you. If you don't help us, I just assume this is going to be public. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Do you think that kind of a conversation has already happened with Mark? Do you
Zuckerberg, you're saying?
Yeah. Do you think a meeting like that has happened? Like what J. Edgar Hoover and Kennedy's had back in the days. Like with the mob with J. Edgar Hoover saying, just so you know, this is the information we have on you. Do you think that kind of a conversation has happened? What percentage do you think it is? 5%, 10%, 20%?
It's probably a 20% chance.
I think it's happened.
Remember, we had the opportunity to speak to, and we can say this publicly, I think, Andrew Fastow.
Yeah,
of Enron.
Andy Fastow,
and he talked
CFO.
about that they did exactly that. It wasn't a marital affair, but they came in and they did strong arm with his wife's taxes on a nothing item to get him to move. And that's the way the feds work.
Yeah, so if that's happening, you just have to assume that this is already taking place. And then if you are already playing that game and your company's already got as much negative reputation as they do, dude, keep telling the administration what you know about people that could potentially prevent the next Salvador Ramos. Is it Salvador Ramos' last name? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Salvador Ramos from happening. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
So what do you what do you think about this picture? Reminded me. What do you think about the Patriot Act? James Snowden or Ed Snowden came out and said the government's
I'm not
tracking
with it.
Every key. Well, that's essentially the same case you're making.
I know. I'm saying, but I'm saying don't do it from the beginning.
At all.
No, because what you're doing is, you know what you're doing. Listen, people think we're gonna live in La La Land. You're not gonna live in La La Land. Do you know what Hillary Clinton just got caught with? Hillary, if this event didn't take place this week, you know what everybody would be talking about?
The big lie.
The big lie of Hillary Clinton. So what is the big lie of Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton sitting there quietly, you know, voicing her opinion about this event, yet at the same time, Hillary Clinton caught on perhaps the most shocking lie of her career. Washington Times, the head of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign for the presidency, Robbie Mook, testified on Friday Hillary Clinton approved of an effort in the months before 2016 election to provide the press with research perpetrating to show a computer link between a company of her GOP rival Donald Trump and a Russian bank. Mook on Friday was testifying on behalf of Michael Sussman, a high-powered Democratic lawyer and accuser accused Clinton lawyer. According to Mook, he discussed it, giving dubious information to the press with Hillary as well. But I believe I discussed it with her after we kind of discussed it and made the decision. Not notionally, the discussion was, hey, we have this and we want to share with a reporter. She agreed to it. The prosecution claims Sussman billed the Clinton campaign for this piece of dubious information, and the prosecution claims that it has been evidence for making this claim. So these guys are doing that nonstop to the American people.
Worse than Watergate.
Yeah, these guys are doing that left and right, and people are sitting around saying, who's getting destroyed with this or manipulated with this? The professionals are doing this nonstop. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is, behind closed doors, you don't think one of her associates has had conversations with social media companies to say, hey, you better or else?
Well, it's like how they always threaten the heads of the CEO companies to testify in front of Congress.
Yeah.
They're always pressuring them. You have to do more. You have to stop the disinformation. You
Yeah,
have to send
and I
some more
love
people.
the fact that some of them are starting to have a backbone. I love the fact that Bezos is having a backbone. Musk is having a backbone. Some of them are now pushing back and saying, look, enough with blaming all of us. We're sick and tired of it, bro. Do you realize we created 450,000 jobs that you haven't created? We created so they don't rely on the government. You keep bashing me here. Why don't you go create 450,000 jobs without taxpayer? We're creating this economy. You're not doing it. Yeah, so it's a very dirty game. I was watching a documentary on the way here do you know this guy? They call him the Pharma Bro.
Yeah, Martin Shkreli.
You remember the Pharma Bro? Have you seen his documentary or no? It's worth checking out, by the way. Pharma Pro.
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
Yeah, I will tell
I've
you.
seen the
it's
tweets and clips.
Very entertaining. So what do they do? So this guy's going out there and a drug that's cost $13, he's selling you for $7.50. And they interview him and they say, how do you feel about the fact that you have a drug that's $13 and he's selling it for $7.50? You know what
$750, not $7.50.
No, $750.
He jacked it up like 5,000%.
You know what he said? His answer. You know what his answer was? I think it's still underpriced. I think we should still charge a little bit more than $7.50.
This guy's a certified dirtbag.
He is a very, very strange guy, right? But you know what they did? You know how he went to jail for 7 years? Not for what he did with the drug. He went to jail for 7 years because a hedge fund he used to run years ago that had nothing to do with this, and he had multiple different companies where he was just kind of moving the money over from different places and taking a loss.
What is it, money laundering, tax evasion?
Yeah,
what was he doing?
Not tax evasion. It's multiple corporations where he was moving the money, raising one place and moving to another company, and then he eventually got caught with that, and his lawyer couldn't win, and he got 7 years. But the point
He
is,
just got out, though.
yeah, but by the way, he'd be a great guest to have. I mean, Rob, if you're listening to this, let's have him on as a guest. That'd be a great conversation to have with him. Yeah, he got two counts of securities fraud and one count of conspiring to commit securities fraud. So sometimes when you get a little too loud, you get that knock. Mm-hmm. Musk just got that knock. I think Bezos is afraid of getting that knock. He feels a little brave today. But it's bad when people are afraid of voicing their opinion to get that knock. It's a form of censorship, and I know they call it silencing, but it's a form of censorship. And you know what's the biggest freedom with that? The FBI raid on James O'Keefe? Yeah, so you go into this part? Yeah. But so, going back to what you're asking, yeah, I'm not with it. I don't support that. Our sweetheart Hillary Clinton is the master at it, but I don't support it.
What was his name? Her campaign manager, the little guy with the glasses, Podesta?
John Podesta.
Yeah, remember he blamed Facebook for the loss.
Of course.
Remember?
But more is coming.
Remember?
Yeah.
He did. Well, and by the way, he lost the election. He's the campaign manager, so he's going to blame the moon, the tides, and the wind.
And Comey.
Trump.
And Comey. But they directly blamed Facebook and Zuckerberg because Zuckerberg didn't cooperate, and he was actually trying to let both sides out there. But there were a lot of bots that were going on Facebook. But the point was Facebook was actually trying to, and by the way, they're not exactly in a white hat here. It's sort of a dark gray hat. But they did not kowtow to it. And then you're being blamed publicly. And who was the guy that ended up in the seat in the hearing?
Mark?
Yeah, remember?
Yep. Of course, all of them did. All the CEOs.
Yeah.
All the CEOs.
But who was the one that really got barbecued? Who really got barbecued?
Mark.
Right.
Zuckerberg.
And who got the easy questions?
Google.
Correct.
Sundar Pichai. But Dorsey had to take a lot of heat.
If you go take a
By the way,
look,
Dorsey just resigned from being on the board.
Right.
They
So-
just a form of almost got fired off the board because of defending Elon and on the what do you call it, the fake
bots.
fake bots. So so that means now Dorsey and Elon are united against the board, which is awesome.
Because
So-
they realize
Awesome.
whatever they do will never be enough for
Yeah.
the left.
It's great.
It'll never be enough.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.